Okay, I think everything's working. Hello, good morning. Saturday morning, it's 7:51 where I am, and I'm already down here painting. I figured, why not? Go ahead and start a stream. It's obviously kind of impromptu, which is fine. I can only be here until about 9:15, so maybe an hour and a half, but that's okay too. Ben Repaints, if you haven't met me before, I'm just a small-time hobby painter who does this just kind of for funsies and to help people learn who's interested in learning. And today, I've been working on Torgaradon because I just love this little guy. And every time I paint him, I find out something new about the technique of painting him. So I realized that his paint scheme was really different compared to my other Imperial Fist units, and it was kind of, there we go, it was kind of driving me nuts. So I'm painting him again, and I'm trying to do a better job this time. And hopefully, this will be the last time I have to paint him for a while. But yeah, that's what I'm going to be working on today. Because I don't really want to continue painting the rats, at least not right now. And I've been back in this mood to like redo my Imperial Fists army. Because I finally found like a 2,000 point list that I think I want to play. And so what I'm most likely going to do is build towards that and completely paint all that up and try and play that, and they get blown off the table like I always do. But at least I'll have fun doing so. So I didn't actually strip this guy to repaint him. I just kind of painted back over him. He was this combination of like a dark magenta all the way up to an attempt at a bright yellow, but I felt like the blending and the layer lines were very noticeable and not very good because I was using a much less refined brush to do so and had a lot less brush discipline. So I'm just going back over and very gradually painting him back up to like the bright yellow that I had him at. And again, it's purely a I just want to see him better model. And you can see in other places I've kept him finished, I've kept him done. I actually tried not to touch any other color except for the yellow armor. And I also didn't like how dull his cape looked because I was using Vallejo's Deep Red, which by itself is a fine color, but it tends to read as very dull. And I really wanted Torgaradon to have a little bit more visual presence when I put him on the table, so he was super noticeable all the time. So I needed more high contrast. And I recently bought Pro Acryl's Bold Pyrrhic Red, and bold is probably the best word I could use to describe it because it is an incredibly rich red, and I think on the camera right now it's popping pretty hard, and that's kind of what I want. I'd rather it be like that because I don't want all my guys to be neon colored or anything, but I would definitely prefer if more of them had a slightly more noticed presence, because you can still do like grimdark and you can still do weathering and whatnot, but I don't think the model should blend into the board as much as I felt like my guys were doing, even with a yellow paint scheme. So that's kind of my goal for this guy, which should only take me another session or two to finish, but just trying to make him stand out a little more, so that when I go back and I paint some heavy intercessors and I go back and I paint some more aggressors, they all kind of have this more brilliant look to them. So hopefully that will all work out okay, and I can have an army that just really stands out on the battlefield. And they're going to look really good as they get kind of annihilated. Though honestly, I think a game against Custodes that were basically themed into a very specific army style wasn't the best indicator of how well they'll do in a normal game. So I'm also kind of looking forward to going back and trying again against a different army to see how well a almost completely on theme Imperial Fist's army does. because the way that I want to play them is that I just want to do nothing but Gravis and fortification. So like I want to get a couple more, or I want to get another Hammerfall bunker, and I want to have 2 Redemptor Dreadnoughts, and just completely go ham with that kind of stuff. So I suppose we'll see. In the meantime, my goal is to get this guy as pretty as possible. I don't know why the camera's doing that. That's funky. Maybe my head's getting in the way and I just don't notice it. Am I coming through clear enough on here? Oh yeah, the volume is good. Good morning, Dark Volt. Good to see you. I don't think it's morning over where you are, but it is good to see you regardless. Yeah, I figured since I was already down here and painting, that it's like, why not stream? Why not have a stream? Not like I've got much else going on. I was just listening to an Auspex Tactics video about some of the complaints of 10th edition Warhammer, and it was just like, why not just go ahead and put on a stream? You can hear me loud and clear? Fantastic. Yeah, I've got the mic set up just slightly differently, and I'm not really talking into it, so I wasn't sure that I was getting good feedback. It's 2 p.m., you just had lunch. I hope it was a tasty one. It's, I think, 8 a.m. Yeah, it's 2 minutes to 8 a.m., and I have to go to work in about an hour, because I'm still working that second job over at Best Buy with the Geek Squad, because I actually like that job, and to be completely honest, the little bit of supplemental income I get from it has been very helpful. My original plan, 6 hour difference, yeah. My original plan was actually that I was going to take the money I was still earning from Best Buy and use it to purchase a PC, but it looks like with how much is being taken out of my paycheck due to benefits and whatnot, which weren't being taken out in that first paycheck because I hadn't signed on for them, I don't have enough money left over to just save up for a new PC. So that money is going to help me with like groceries and whatnot. And while that is kind of a bummer, the fact that I have a regular paycheck now that is good enough to cover all the bills is definitely a better place to be than I was in 3 months ago. So, there's room for promotion at my new job. It's definitely one where I'm right now at a floor with my pay stubs, and the ceiling is considerably higher. So, I'm not too worried about it. It just means no monster PC anytime soon. So how have you been? I saw your, I mentioned it in the Discord, but I saw your contributions to Community Day, and you were busy. That was a huge panel of cool stuff. And also, you made me really want to get into to Legions Imperialis. Those little mini models, those little mini models are just too cool. And yeah, I really want to play Legions Imperialis now. But I'm being pulled so many different directions by like every shiny that I want to do. Like, I want to do Horus Heresy, and I want to make like 3 armies with Horus Heresy. But I also want to continue with 40k and continue building out my armies there, and also get ready for the new one with the Emperor's Children. But then I also want to get into Age of Sigmar and continue building out my rats and make a Night Haunt army, because ghosts are my one true love. And then I want to get into a bunch of other stuff, so it's like, please stop. I don't have the money for this. I'll never afford a new PC. But yeah, Legions Imperialis looks very cool. I'm also pretty encouraged to try and get out a little more. Yeah, projects to keep us busy. Exactly. I mean, that is kind of one of the fun points in life, is to find things to keep you occupied and happy, right? Because you are the master and commander of your own fate. And this goes a little bit nihilist, but like, the universe is meaningless. You have to give it meaning. And if you get passion out of painting silly little miniatures, then go for it. You're not hurting anyone. You're teaching yourself a skill. You're making your life better. Have fun. If you are hurting someone, then don't do that. But that's a whole nother story. But yeah, how's your week been going? I'm sorry I couldn't stream on Tuesday, but there was a severe pressure drop due to like a hurricane that came through, Hurricane Milton, which was disastrous for Florida, but thankfully not apocalyptic. Oof. Hey Montravon, good to see you. Thank you for lurking, I appreciate it, buddy. But there was a huge pressure drop, and that dropped the temperature really swiftly. And I have a sinus issue where my sinuses react to barometric. Okay, you currently brainstorming some Kingdom Hearts OC story. Thankfully, it's not cutting into your wallet, so you can keep steering on with your Warhammer plans. Very cool, very cool. I think I mentioned it before, but I never finished the first Kingdom Hearts, and I kind of enjoyed the game vicariously through Doig Swift. So I have very, very limited knowledge of Kingdom Hearts. But I think it's really cool that, you know, the fandom is still going and that people are still having fun with it. But yeah, there was a barometric pressure drop on Tuesday, and I was fine at work, but when I got home, I was just like, man, my face is tight. Man, I'm sniffling a lot. Man, I can't see out of my left eye. I don't think I'm streaming. So, that's kind of what happened there. It does that, where at first I'll just start having more of a runny nose because my sinuses are starting to swell up due to the pressure change. And then it'll just increase the pressure on the front of my face. And then my eyes will start watering because my tear ducts are no longer properly cycling. And it just keeps getting worse from there to the point where I'm essentially knocked out of commission for at least one evening. And then I'll be perfectly fine the next day. You're doing okay? Your sleep schedule's been out of whack, but I went to my Warhammer store and gave them my Chaos Warrior I painted this night for a painting competition because it's the week of the store's anniversary. That's really cool. I'd like to enter more painting competitions. I think it's a good barometer of where I am. And, of course, cool painted models will draw more people, right? Like, they'll see that, oh, there's these painted models at the store, and they look really cool, and I want to buy models and paint them like that. So, I think I might have mentioned it, but the local game store that I go to that had that painting competition back in August, the owner all but, like, begged me to continue painting. You picked up my orders from this month, got my Dreadnought, so I can start building your Chaplain Dread whenever you want. Very cool. Are you converting the, well, it's not really a Furioso Dreadnought, because it's just a Brutalis with some parts, but are you converting, like, a Brutalis Dreadnought into a Chaplain, or are you using, like, an older model? I forget. You got the Furioso and the Venerable Dread kit. Oh, very cool. So yeah, you're using the older model. So something that I thought was kind of cool, and I think I've shown it off on stream, is that someone, for a brief moment before it got taken down, had released like a true scale Firstborn Boxknot. So, one of the things that I like the least about the Redemptor is that the Redemptor is like a little too spindly limbed and thick bodied, so he just kind of looks like he's got a beer belly, which in motion is fine, like it moves fine and it looks really cool when it does, but it gives it a much goofier silhouette in a way that I find awkward instead of endearing. And you want to build them old school style to fit with your 4th edition boys. Very true. Very true. But someone released a true scale version of yes, because I have it. And it's already been taken down. Oh crap, I left it upstairs. I'm sorry. Let me see if I have any pictures of it. But it's already been taken down, so the fact that I own it shouldn't be that big a deal. If I can't find it, I'll just run upstairs and get the hard drive really quick. But hey Layla, how's it going? How are you doing? Good morning. I'm looking for pictures of a Dreadnought that I painted that, because you know what, forget it. I'll be right back. I'm gonna go ahead and get the Dreadnought from upstairs, so that way you guys can see it. So just give me a moment. I'll be right back. So where's the right back? Yeah, be right back. Yeah, I'll be right back, guys. One moment, please. Okay, I'm back. Doing okay, just kind of stressed because of a competition deadline plus two other projects you're working on at the same time. Oh, that's a lot of pressure. I hope you're able to get it all done. That's always the worst when you feel like you're behind on things that you really want to do well at. I'm back, by the way. I just ran upstairs and grabbed it and ran back. And since I am severely out of shape now because I work a desk job and I don't move much, I'm already out of breath. I think that's the other reason why I'm keeping with this other job, is I'm constantly on my feet. So it forces me to exercise at least once a week.
Where are you?
You are? Okay. Pictures. Actually, does he have any pictures of it next to... Yes, they do. That's fantastic. They have pictures of it next to a Contemptor Dreadnought, which is also pretty neat. So, let's go ahead and pull... Nope, that's not what I want. They call it the Recursor Dread. But there it is with the original loadout, right? And you see, it's basically... It looks fantastic. So, there it is next to a true... Or the original Dreadnought, I believe. They put it next to it for scale. So that's a Furioso Dreadnought, I think. And yeah, there it is with the Redemptor's assault cannon, as opposed to the Firstborn Dreadnought's assault cannon. So it is slightly bigger, which I think is really great, but it looks essentially the same. They also have the Venerable version, which I also think is really good. And you can see, like, it looks functionally the same, other than some slight upgrades. Like, it's got the Redemptor's backpack on it, and it's definitely got a little bit more detail to it. And yeah, I think that's great. Let me see, there's more. Yeah, there it is. There they printed it next to a Leviathan, next to a Firstborn, and that way you can kind of see the size difference. Good morning, Stroop. How's it going? I'm showing Darkvolt some pictures of a true scale Dreadnought 3D print that I found, that I printed out myself, and I love him to death. He's also magnetized, which is really, really cool. You wish there was an upscaled Firstborn Dread like this? I mean, he kind of is a Firstborn Dread. Like I said, he's got a couple of little differences to him, but he's essentially a Firstborn Dread with some Redemptor upgrades, like quality of life upgrades. So, like, he's got the underslung Stormbolters, for example. And on the back, he's also got the top-mounted gun, which can also be a banner. It's magnetized, which is great. And the backpack is the Redemptor backpack versus the Firstborn one. So if at any point you have some discretionary money and you want one printed, I can definitely print one out for you. They're super neat. I don't know, but I think it might even have some Dark Angels armor plates. So you could potentially make a very odd... you need to start working on your Blood Bowl team. Your local game store might start soon. Yeah, I have a Blood Bowl team, and I've kicked around the idea of getting into Blood Bowl, but it's just never been something that I've had time for. So yeah, that's another game, Darkvolt, that I'm trying to get into, is Blood Bowl. I've got a Nurgle team that I painted up, and I haven't done anything with since, because a friend was supposed to get into Blood Bowl at some point, and I kind of jumped the line, because I have a little more discretionary money than them, and it hasn't happened yet. So hopefully it'll happen at some point, but I now just have a Blood Bowl team that's just farting around. Speaking of farting around, I think I mentioned it on stream before, but because of our sense of humor and because they're big rotting zombies, I made it so that every single one of them are pooping their pants. They've all soiled themselves, which is very funny to me. Because, you know, Nurgle, dead, waste, gross, yuck. But yeah, it made him laugh, and since he's the one who kind of set me on that type of humor, that was a good time. Because, you know, children. Okay, so I mentioned it at the beginning of the stream, but I'm just kind of painting Torgaridon for like the millionth time. Hey, Stroop. I can't see what that is. Oh, it's laugh emojis. Okay. I'm repainting Torgaridon for like the 5th time because I don't remember what day it was. I think it might have been Wednesday. But my wife wanted to go upstairs and work on some of her comic, and I didn't really want to go upstairs, so I was like, okay, I'll just go downstairs and paint. And I wasn't in like a good enough mood to stream, and I didn't want to go play video games, so I was like, okay, I'll paint something. And I was like, I don't feel like painting Skaven right now, and I don't feel like doing this other thing, so I just found Torgaridon and realized I wanted to redo him a bit. And so now he's getting kind of a smoother paint job than I had on him before. Because the last one I had some very stark contrast that looked very chunky and not smooth. So I'm trying to make the contrast fade a little better across the colors. Now that I've improved my painting skills since I last painted the lad. But yeah, actually, the Blood Bowl team. I think we got them over here. Yep, there they are. Yeah, oh, here's my favorite guy. So I've got like this guy, and did a pretty decent brighten him up a little bit to fit more of my latest lads. Exactly, yeah, and like I said, I was going to repaint them anyway, or like get some new ones. I need to really update these guys because I did an okay job, but I could do so much better. But yeah, every single one of them have like an unfortunate accident happening behind them. You're going to try and paint an ice cream armor on your competition mini. It's a Kit Bash Death Guard Knight with a bell and its ripped open belly. That's super cool. I have a Kit Bash Death Guard Knight Tyrant, I think it is. It's the one. It's the Dominus with the big guns, and they're very clean painted. This is priceless art. Yeah. The friend who was going to get into Blood Bowl with me, he used to work. How do I want to put this? I always hate using these words because I always forget the proper ones. Mentally handicapped elderly, whose brain functions were starting to deteriorate, and so he had to deal with a lot of shit flung his way, both literally and figuratively, and it got to a point where he just stopped being bothered by it, and it went full circle and just became funny to him. So he's got a very odd sense of humor that involves poop, and so whenever we find anything like it, we tend to giggle about it because we're both school children. And so I was like, when I make this army, I'm gonna make them all poop. And I showed him, he's like, oh, these look fantastic, and I went, turn them around, and then he saw stuff like that happening, and then he just cackled, and we had a good... But all it is texture paste that I've painted dark brown. So nothing too specific. Oh, and going back to what Layla was saying about the Death Guard, is it Imperial Knight, I'm assuming? Yeah, I 3D printed one, which I think I've shown on stream before, but it was a Knight Tyrant, like the Dominus model, and I found an STL file that had like the inverted Knight legs to make it look more like the rest of the Chaos Knights, and one of my friends was a big Scarlet Witch fan, and we went to go see Multiverse of Madness, and she asked if they had any more of the Scarlet Witch bobbleheads. And they did, but only in pieces. So they gave her a bunch of them, and she managed to put like one of them together to make a Scarlet Witch. But then she had like a leftover head, and she went, "Hey, Benry, do you want this for your models?" And I was like, "I know exactly what I'm doing with this." Oh, it's normal small mini with a huge cleaver. Oh, okay. Okay, so it's one of the Age of Sigmar ones, isn't it? One moment. I think I know exactly what model you're talking about, and you probably just upgraded it. Through your kit bashing. No, I don't want Death. I want Coas. No, not Hedonites of Slaanesh, even though they are very cool. I can't wait for the Emperor's Children. I don't know if you guys know, but they teased Emperor's Children models for Warhammer 40k, and I'm so excited for the Emperor's Children to come out now. I've been waiting for about a year, and now they've finally been announced. So I'm very excited for that. Oh man, these guys are gross. I love them. Let me see. Let's go through these. Okay. I posted pics on the Discord just now. Oh, very cool. Oh yeah, look at that. That's awesome. Okay, we're opening these all in browser. Very nice. And your basing skills are so on point. That's something that I really need to work on and get better at, and I'm very excited to do so eventually. But yeah, let's show these off. Let's show these off because they're really cool. Here we go. Bam. So that is the model that you are working on, and it looks fan-freaking-tastic. But yeah, this is something I got to get better at is doing the basing, because I see how you put that together, and I just need to be more ambitious with mine. Yeah, look at that. That's awesome. And there you go. Oh, look at that. Look at that bloody mess. That's amazing. My favorite thing about Death Guard is if it doesn't make you kind of instinctually, it's the first time you've ever used Cork for basing, well, it's turning out really good. Like, it looks like really nice, you know, just kind of tiered earthenware and rocks. So, you did a great job there. Nice to see the sentiment switch from Slaanesh is going to be discontinued because of themes not being mainstream enough to Emperor's Children's Codex. And that's the thing, I think, is people are really worried that the Emperor's Children Codex is going to be heavily sanitized because, unfortunately, there's this immediate correlation of Slaanesh with sex. But I feel like there's so many other places they can go with it, and that's what's going to be great, is seeing how else they reinterpret it. Okay, so, just real quick, going back to the night I was talking about, I made this, let me see, I made this Plague Knight, right? And all of it's 3D printed. But I love the inverted legs matching up with the rest of the Chaos Knights. And I love how just gross and horrifying it looks. I did a, what did I do with this guy? I basically just did it with a dry brush and an airbrush. And it turned out really good. Yeah, the big horns on there are great. He's really hard to transport, so I kind of don't. But, yeah, this is what I did with the Scarlet Witch face, is I ripped it off the back, and then I just carved out the mouth, and I used a part from Angron's lower jaw, and, that just made it look absolutely horrifying, with the corpse paint over and everything. Can't have too many horns on Nurgle minis, exactly. And, I think, yeah, I took a picture of a Sister of Battle next to it just to kind of show off how much smaller or how big the model actually is, because it's a pretty, it reminds you of the Doom games, exactly. It's a pretty big model, and it's really heavy because it's made entirely out of resin, because at the time I didn't trust my yeah, the original old school Doom, right, with the cacodemons and whatnot, but I didn't trust my my FDM printer at the time because I didn't have the settings kind of dialed in. Okay. So, the entire thing was done in resin, which means it's a very heavy and very brittle model. And right now it just kind of resides in my display cabinet because, the Imperial Knight army, or the Chaos Knight army I did have, I sold. Because I realized I was never going to play a game with them. And they were just kind of sitting in my basement collecting dust. And, that just felt bad. But yeah, like I mentioned before, I'm repainting Torgaradon for like the millionth time, so that his high contrast scheme matches up more with the rest of my Imperial Fist army that I'm trying to move to. And because at the time I used like a really dark magenta originally, and tried to build him up towards a bright yellow, and it made him look kind of neon for one, and it also just had these really heavy contrasts that were just too much and weren't very well transitioned. So that's what I'm working on today. I hope the rest of you guys are having a good morning, afternoon, or time zone, whatever time it is. Here are the two projects at the moment are for October. One is a Stomper with a bit of kit-bashed work on it, and the other is a fully scratch-built Orc mech shop. I'm not going to get them done for October, though. Good lord. That's a pretty ambitious docket you've got for yourself. Honestly, I think the achievement is worth more than the, or the attempt is worth more than the achievement. So the fact that you got him started means that now you have a project you can go back to and complete. And you're going to be really proud of it all when you're done. And I think that's super, super cool. Okay, and I was wondering how viable it would be to make an FDM understructure where you just glue on the resin pieces as decorations. That's apparently the recommended method for making knights, is to make the skeleton out of FDM because most of it's hidden, and the FDM is strong enough to support the resin stuff, but not so heavy to weigh everything down. So if I decide to print another Imperial Knight, or even possibly an Armiger, that's almost definitely what I'm going to do, is print the plating and the armor out of resin, and print the skeleton, the underskeleton, out of FDM. Now I know there's going to be some size differences, so I might have to shrink some things down, but I do not recall. I'll have to do some test experiments with it, because filament is a whole lot cheaper than resin. Orktober's not meant to be finished work, it's about getting Orky bits. That is true. The Stampa needs 99% of its paint job, and the mech shop still need lots of parts and then the paint job. But yeah, but like we just said, it's great that you've started some really cool projects. I have yet to start my Orktober anything. I was looking around to try and see if maybe I could find some non-40k thing to do for Orktober, because I realized that even though I want to paint other non-Warhammer things, especially for this channel, because while Warhammer is a lot of fun, I feel like painting more models and having more of a variety will pull more people, while also being fun. I just haven't found like an orc model that inspires me. I definitely found some, I guess I'll call them pinup orc models, that were like, I might want to paint that. But then I get really self-conscious about how horny those models are, and I'm like, maybe I don't want to paint that on stream, because I'll be uncomfortable. So, I don't know. I'll figure something out. What I might do is, especially since I'm working until 6 tonight, and my wife is at a con tabling, which I'm kind of sad about, because I wanted to go to that con. I might stop by over at Star City Games, which I just doxed myself with because there's only one of them in the country. But I might stop over there and see if there's an orc model I might want to pick up. Or I might just take this time to repaint my Orc Commandos kill team, which I really like, but I've grown as a painter a lot since I painted them, so it's kind of that same thing where I could make them a whole lot brighter, a whole lot more standoutish, especially for a game like Kill Team. Make kit bashes like I do, and sculpt lots of green stuff or milliput. I could do that. Unfortunately, I am not creative enough to do that. I am very bad at kit bashing. Could paint it for the Discord, that is true. And that's probably something I'll do. I'll probably, like I said, I want to branch out from 40k and Age of Sigmar, so I'm most likely going to end up 3D printing some things and painting them and being like, hey guys, I painted this thing. How'd I do? Because honestly, one thing I do want to get better at painting is skin. Because I feel like I've heard it from a lot of people, and I really do believe skin is really difficult to get just right. And so working on a pinup model, for example, whether it be male or female or anything in between, is like training yourself, right? It's really learning how to do skin tones, because there's so much of it there, and it's kind of the center of the piece. So if you get it wrong, you'll really know that you got it wrong. But at the same time, if you get it right, it looks fantastic. We could just jump into a virtual chat on Discord or something. I can give you a bunch of ideas. That is true. I guess the other thing right now is that monetarily, I'm in a place where I can't really afford to do a whole lot, and I don't have a whole lot of shit to use for kit bashing. But yeah, eventually this will have to happen. We'll have to do like maybe closer to Halloween, we'll do like an Orktober kit bashing fair, and I'll just throw a bunch of shit in the camera and be like, okay, give me stuff, give me ideas. You know, in some Discords as the kit bash queen. That's very cool. I got a friend who's a much bigger orc player than I am, but he also doesn't have the kind of money I do to dump into the hobby. So 90% of the things he bought, or he has for his army, are secondhand orcs, or other things that are not Warhammer that he converted into Warhammer. Like, he's got a scale model of a post office delivery van that he's turned into an orc truck, and he gave it some silly name to go along with it. And his Stompa is a Mr. Potato Head that he just duct taped every possible gun that he had left over to. So he's got a lot of weird orky bits. I think one of his boys has like Gundam bits attached to it. So he just that's the good stuff, yeah. He just went nuts with making silly orc stuff, and it's one of my favorite armies ever just because it's so wild. It's also a lot of fun to play against because he's not into the meta of like, here's how I make a good army. His is more just like, here are things I enjoy, and here are things that are going to get thrown at you. Have fun. And I honestly think that's how 40k should be played. Make an army to fit your theme. Okay, this yellow is going on very thin, which is good, because I want to build up very gradual layers up to a much brighter yellow. I don't know if you guys can tell through the camera, scratch building makes great orc bits, exactly. I don't know if you guys can tell through the camera, but I'm using Averland Sunset, which is a pretty strong yellow in a lot of cases, but right now it's really taking on the characteristic of the orange underneath. And that's honestly a good thing. I do want him to glow very warm. The next layer I'm doing above this is going to be Dorn Yellow, which is an ice yellow. Meta is for games that don't involve lots of fun. Yeah, I'm not sure because I haven't played a lot of meta games, but I just feel like it becomes kind of oppressive and less interesting. At least from a like engagement standpoint, to have just tuned armies that, I don't know. I don't want to disparage it because there are a lot of people who get great enjoyment out of tournament grinding, because that's where they can kind of put all their cards on the table and say, this isn't about being fair, this is about using the rules to the best advantage. So it is what it is. People will enjoy what they enjoy, right? As long as as long as everyone's having fun and having a good game. I guess that's where I'll end on that. But yeah, I'm trying to build this guy up so that he's gonna have like a very bright yellow highlight, and I'm just kind of figuring out how the heck I want to get there, because you can see he's very orange right now. Honestly, it depends on the people you play with. I don't really see any brushstrokes, but the end result makes a distinct difference. Yeah, that is true. And yeah, it really does depend on the people you play with. I try and be that kind of guy who's all about like, we're here to have fun. I'm here to have fun. If I don't have a tuned meta list, cool. I'm gonna try and see how much fun I can have with this list that I built because I like these things. And I think that's a good place to be in across the game. But yeah, I do want to make it kind of a goal to get out more and play more Warhammer, so I can, you know, just get more comfortable with the current rule set. Because I feel like for a little while I was playing a decent amount with my friends, but that was during 9th edition, and 9th edition was really oppressive if you knew the right things to do. And I really liked Eradicators, so my buddy playing AdMech never really had a good time. But thankfully 10th edition's changed a bit. He's now playing Imperial Knights. Yeah, it honestly depends on the people you play with. Yeah, he'll rival my Belial someday. Yeah, at some point he will. I'm trying to actually get him up to the point where he stands out like Belial does. You just want to play a good game regardless of what you're running in Death Guard? Yeah, I'm excited for Death Guard's Codex. I'm so curious what they're going to do to try and make the different Death Guard detachments unique. Because I don't know if Death Guard's going to get a power boost, but I would love to see just kind of what they choose to focus on. Because that's one of my favorite things about the Codex drops now, is regardless of whether they're good or not, is just seeing what direction Games Workshop takes the army and the factions. But yeah, I like my Belial a lot, and I'm hoping that Torgaradon can get there. And I think he will, because, like I said, every model has basically become my best model I've painted every time I paint a new model, because, you know, if you keep up with it, you improve at things. And since I'm very specifically trying to improve on some key things for visual clarity, it just means that everyone gets a little better. And I think that that's fun. Speaking of fun, at my current job, I'm working with the IT department at my city. You really don't know much yet about 10th. All I can say is for a 500-point game, a Land Raider is too much. Yeah, no, vehicles are very swingy because of that, expanded toughness range. So, like, bringing a Land Raider or a Dreadnought to a 500 points game just feels a bit much. A lot of people have complained that the new Combat Patrol boxes are a ripoff, and they've made them worse. And yes, I agree with them from a price perspective and a value perspective. They've definitely made them less good, but I understand what they're going for, because the new Combat Patrol game is supposed to be an onboard for brand new players, or for people who want a much quicker game, and it's a lot more difficult to balance with vehicles than without. You just want some more movement or some ways to get across the board. You really do like Death Guard and 10th. Yeah, I think the Death Guard are pretty well designed right now, but you are right, they are very slow. I want some more anti-tank. I'd love for the Death Guards, I'd love for the Plague Burst Crawler to be good again. Like, I think it's such a cool model, and it and the Malignant... whatever, no, not Malignant, Mephitic Blight Haulers are the only ways to deal with big models. And neither of them are very good at it right now. So, giving the Plague Burst Crawlers back its heavy artillery, and possibly making the Blightlord Terminators good again, or at least not as bad as they are. That increased toughness profile that they gave them for this edition has been worth nothing. So, I don't know. We'll see. We will see. At least as far as I can tell. What if Emperor's Children are all about mobile and anti-tank? That would be wild, but I kind of doubt it. At least from what I've seen with how they're portrayed, aren't they typically like very mobile and very melee oriented? Like, I honestly wouldn't mind if they were very similar to the White Scars in that fashion, because it does make sense. They're all about being swift and graceful across the battlefield, etc. So it would make sense if they had a lot of mobility tricks. Mobile, yes, but I also think... oh yeah, Noise Marines. That is true. Noise Marines do have the ability to just rock your face off, so that would make sense for them to be able to just sheer armor plating. If they end up being mobile anti-tank, I'm going to scream. Positive. Very positive. Because, it's very not my playstyle. And, I think it would be cool to have an army that is very specifically that. Though I am curious what kind of units they're going to get and what kind of units are going to be playable. I'm hoping and praying and screaming and crying that the Master of Executions is playable, because I already have that one Emperor's Children painted Master of Executions that I kind of don't want to have to repaint. So yeah, I actually held off on building more Emperor's Children specifically because of that. Blightlord Terminators are garbage in this edition. The Plague Burst Crawlers are decent. The Bloat Drones are in a good position. The Flesh Mower can fall back in charge. The Flesh Mower is awesome for every reason. Like, honestly, I think the Flesh Mower is the best unit in the Death Guard, just by pure flavor, because it's a giant drone with a giant blender attached to it, like a lawnmower turbine. And the idea of it is terrifying, because like you in both just in game, and if you were to imagine the events of the game as something that were really happening, that thing just flying over cover and just grinding its way through your unit is horrifying. And the fact that it can back up and do it again, that's just like peak fear. I love the bloat drones. I'm kind of sad that I sold all mine and now I gotta rebuy them, because I sold off a lot of my Death Guard beyond like the Combat Patrol and some key units, because I realized I wasn't playing Death Guard and I wasn't having fun when I was playing Death Guard. But the urge to buy Death Guard and try again is growing. You know? The noise blasters could work like Volkite, ignore armor, and destroy the body inside. Yeah, because that's basically how they work, right? The sound waves just turn whatever fleshy bits or squishy bits they find into a fine paste because it shakes it apart. And see, that's kind of where I hope they go with the Noise Marines and with Slaanesh in general. Because, yes, technically they are sex, drugs, and rock and roll. And yes, I do believe that, you know, they can sell the sex part. But this is supposed to be a game that is trying to gain more mainstream appeal. So they can have the sex part, but just really focus on the drugs and rock and roll, you know? Even to the call. Oh, trust me, no, I want to do Emperor's Children. I've wanted to do Emperor's Children since I read Fulgrim. Well, actually, I take that back. I've wanted to do Emperor's Children since I've read Angel Exterminatus, because I loved Graham McNeil's just perverse depiction of them as, like, gleeful, terrible idiots. And I think that it's great. So I am all in. I'm trying to put aside money so that when the Emperor's Children come out, I can just buy all of the everything related to them immediately, and not have to kind of pick and choose what I want for them. Death Guard are about where GW wants them, the 48% win rate, the detachment abilities added to Contagion. Yeah, I think they did a great job rebalancing them. I am really sad that they've had to, like, rely on War Dogs to compete, though. Because that's the thing with them right now, isn't it? That they currently don't have very strong anti-tanks, so they've got to rely on War Dog Carnivores to be any good at a competitive level. And it's like, I don't want to have to take allied detachments to make my Death Guard viable. I just want to play Death Guard. You think Total War Warhammer is doing a good job showing a side of Slaanesh that's not this sex? Yeah, and see, like, that's a great example. Because I haven't played Total War, because I don't want to get sucked into another time sink. I've already got Baldur's Gate and Dark Tide and Rogue Trader and Space Marine 2 in this. But it seems like they didn't just make them all horny. They made them seductive, which is different. And I think that that's super cool. But yeah, we'll see. We'll see a good job. We'll see what they do. I actually have a whole lot of faith in Games Workshop. I feel like, even though they have had some missteps, the number of missteps to home runs has been very positive for the consumer. Or at least for me. I don't know about the actual consumer, because I don't feel like I have to buy everything they put out. But I'm just really excited to see where they go. That's been my favorite thing with the new edition, is seeing how they've kind of massaged some of the more problematic aspects of their game into something that's a little more palatable for audiences. But doesn't, like, strip away the core of the game, because I feel like there is a lot of argument that just feels to be in slightly bad faith and missing the point. So I'm happy to see that Games Workshop, by and large, has done a good job with it. Now, I do want them to release more Leagues of Votann fiction. I don't even play Votann. I just think they're an interesting faction that hasn't gotten a whole lot of time in the sun yet, and they need to. Where are my updated Raven Wing? Oh, that's in like 5 editions, don't worry. That'll happen eventually. That's like the dragons in Game of Thrones. They're coming. But yeah, they focused on Deathwing in the most recent update, didn't they? That was my understanding. They've gotten a new codex. Oh, the pace I'm painting is too soon. That's absolutely fair. That's absolutely fair. Well, hopefully, with a little bit more free time and with a little bit more encouragement, you're able to get more painting in. Because the painting you've been doing has been really good. And I don't know, it seems, at least from watching the community days, it seems like you've been more encouraged to paint and more motivated to do so. So hopefully that trend continues and you continue to have really cool painting jobs. The beginning of this year was the Deathwing box. Yeah, that's what I thought. Also, you've seen the new holiday box. I am so darn tempted to get the new holiday box, and being an absolute bastard and converting all of the Terminators into Imperial Fist Assault Terminators and all of, what is it, the Inner Circle, and turning them into Blade Guard veterans, and then keeping the Lion as the Lion, And but otherwise making everything else into Imperial Fists. Because one thing I've noticed is that my Imperial Fists severely lack in melee, and the Assault Terminators I have right now are resin, and so they don't really hold up well in the box that I transport them in. You gotta dip early, taking the wife to IKEA. Have a great time at IKEA. Don't get too lost in there. And thank you for the well wishes. Have a good day. Much appreciated. You like that you got a bunch of your old models not just painted but finished up. And yeah, that is the cherry on top, is when you finally, you've had these guys sitting on your shelf for a long time, and you reach a point with them where you can just have them as like, I'm done. I'm good. They're all done. I need to do nothing more to these lads. I've tried to make my year the same thing. Like, I keep trying to finish up the Cursed City box, but other things catch my attention. So eventually, maybe, soon, I will have the Cursed City box done. And honestly, after doing some of that experimentation with the speed paints, I think I might have some inspiration for how to get that Cursed City box done quicker. While I'm still not super vibed on the speed paints, I kind of have a better idea of how to use them, which was the point entirely. So hopefully, I can continue to do so with some of the more minor models, like the bats and the rats and whatnot, and also learning about that quote-unquote oil wash technique to work as like an overall wash on the models was an absolute, you know, game changer for me, because that's probably the best wash I've ever done. So that's going to really help me in the long run with a lot of my other paint jobs. Okay, go ahead and take this down. I'm so focused in on what I'm doing that I don't even know if this is all in focus. I'm sorry if it's not. Oh, it is. Remember to varnish before oils? Oh yeah, definitely. But I'm not actually using oils. What I mean is that when I mix the brown and the black speed paint with some flow improver, it behaved like an oil wash. And I thought that was really cool, because honestly, I don't like using oil washes. They're brilliant, and they do exactly what they're supposed to do in amazing ways. But the setup and cleanup of them is just such a hassle for me. So having a substitute that is like a works-like is really useful. Because I'll find a model in a second and see if I can re-demonstrate it, because it was super cool to me how it worked out. But yeah, taking the brown speed paint and the where'd they go? Where'd my speed paints go? I've lost my... Oh, they're right over here. It really does make them act like oil wash. There's black. There's brown. And oh, whoops! I accidentally turned off the one camera. Not the camera. There we go. Let me just take this and put this here. And I think that one. Okay. I still want to try oils one day because the methods seem easy to... They are. The biggest issue, like I said, is the setup and the teardown with oils. If you're fine with that stuff, then oils are amazing. The pin washing they can do is like top flight awesome. It's really cool. And actually, I've got a model I can do this with too. Because I'm eventually going to paint over him anyway. So I got this free model of a Stormcast Eternal, and I'm really not doing anything with him. This guy right here. So I can show you exactly what I'm talking about. We'll go ahead and add some brown and some black together. So I've got Speed Paint Satchel Brown, which I'm pretty sure you can do something similar to this with... Which one can I go to? Which one can I go to? This one. I'm pretty sure you can do something similar to this with contrast paints. So I'd recommend, if you like don't want to deal with the ether spirits, mineral spirits, and oil washes, and the potential toxicity of that, you should give this a shot. And we've got Grim Black, and I'm going to just add a couple more drops in there so it's a little darker. You didn't want to mess with metal paints and switching water to get rid of flicks, so you use non-metallic metal Chaos Warrior. And honestly, that's not a bad... That's actually why I did it too. I got tired of dealing with metallic paints ruining my other stuff. So, it is funny to me that hassle led you to try a much more complicated technique, but it looks really good. When I first saw your model on the Discord, my immediate thought was, okay, which parts of these did he substitute non-metallic metal for? So it sold. You did a really good job. And I've got this Impreza airbrush flow improver, which I just kind of bought from Michael's, which is a local craft store. I'm just going to mix some of that in there. And back a little bit so maybe you can see. And you can see it just kind of looks like a black smudge now, which is good. And I'm just going to mix this together. And I might have to mix in some water too. But if I mix this, it should be runny enough now. Like, I should be able to get it runny enough that it just kind of flows across the model. You want to do copper for the chaos symbols, not gold. And yeah, and you can see this starts flowing really nicely everywhere I want it to. Because it's now thinned down enough. It's kind of, I guess this is kind of like using a contrast medium. Like, I basically force-made my own. But it does a really good job of kind of flowing in where I need it to. So yeah, like I said, it's flow improver, it's airbrush paint, or contrast paint, and that's it. And you can kind of dilute it and, you know, thicken it as necessary. But the flow improver does a great job of keeping it from being too chunky. Because like you saw, I just loaded up the brush. I'm not even trying anymore to play with it, and you can see it's still covering the model and not leading to as much coffee staining as it would otherwise. And actually, that's really cool. I might use this I might do something like this with my other Stormcast. But yeah, there you go. It I don't know. It's probably something that they cover a lot on the YouTube channels where the painters actually use this stuff. But because I'm pretty sure they use contrast medium. But having the contrast, or having this act as a substitute, is really nice. And like the best example I can give is like right here. I'm just gonna blob that in, and you see it's running towards the crevices really nicely. So once again, whatever contrast paints or speed paints that you have, mixed with a little bit of flow improver, and it just does such a good job of thinning it down. There you go. And I'm actually having fun doing this, so that's another positive. Now, of course, the big thing is you still got to be careful with it, because unless you're using it as a wash, it is going to show underneath whatever other paint job that you do on top of it with contrast paints. So I would mainly use this technique very sparingly. But that's just me. If you guys have ideas with it, then go for it. I am just giving you some knowledge to play with. I think if I watered it down more... Actually, you know what? Let's try that. I'm going to go ahead and put some more flow improver in there. And we're going to see what happens, okay? That was a few more drops. And again, I'm just going to kind of agitate this a little bit with the brush. This brush is the one that came with the speed paint, so I'm not too worried about it getting all yucky and messed up. And yeah, it kind of is acting like an oil paint. Now, in terms of whether or not it'll come off the same way is entirely different, because different materials, different makeup, but it's definitely thinned down enough so that painting over it won't be a hassle. At least that's what I'm seeing. And it's not wanting to puddle anywhere, except for like the really dark crevices, which is real nice. So that's definitely a positive for you to play with. I made some space wolf models with the old blue-gray wash over white primer. Used like 3 layers to get the right shade I wanted, but it works nice because of the shading. I bet. I mean, you basically took the idea of a speed paint, I would guess, and did it that way. Because I think the idea, especially with Slap Chop, it's using the grisaille painting method to try and get volume, and that sounds like that's kind of what you did. You gave it a nice base to work under, and then you just kind of painted it from there. Yeah. Actually, let's look at his handle. Let's see what happens when I do his handle. You painted a small puddle of toxic greenish water. I think it turned out quite nice. You're going to post a pic? Very cool. I'll share it as soon as I see it. I love basing. See, that's the thing that I feel like I need to really work on. I've mentioned it before, but Part of why I love this mini stuff is because it tells a story, you know? And it's really hard to tell a story without a good setting. You could have the coolest character in the world, but unless they've got a setting to really bounce off of, then they're just kind of this concept art, which has its own value, but seeing it in place, seeing it in space is what really makes it. So, if you got some cool stuff going on, then yes, please share it. Okay, but yeah, see, that's kind of what it looks like. Okay, so that's all done. I'm gonna put that there. I'm gonna take this guy off because I really don't need him anymore. But I'm gonna save him as an example of what that speed painting technique looks like. I'm also gonna get rid of that. I don't need that sitting in the tray. And then we're gonna take a look at some of the basing that Layla just worked on, because that shit's cool. Now, the one thing that I do know about contrast paints is you really don't want to use water to water it down, because it's just going to take on water's consistency and cohesion, and it'll puddle a lot and bead. You like the base you did on yours, got inspired by blue tack I had on the model for painting, looking like a nice rock formation, so you recreated it in green stuff. Inspiration comes from the best places, right? It comes from the strangest places, and sometimes... Ooh! That's really cool! Okay, so I'm going to open this in browser, and I'm going to open up the old picture so that we can see the contrast, okay? Because that's really cool. Okay, let's see. Okay, so we're going to do the old one first. We're going to look at the original photo where you can kind of see the earth. So at the bottom of the photo, where it's got some vegetation, that's the area that's been changed. And that's what it looks like there. And this is what it looks like now. Oh man, I didn't even see like the ripple details you got in there. That looks very cool. Awesome job. That was Layla42, who is on my Discord for anyone who is interested. And that is a fantastic looking job. Very cool. Oh, for people who were wondering about the Azrael that Darkvolt was talking about, this is my kit bashed, quote unquote kit bashed chapter master. And all I really did was I took Azrael from the Dark Angels. I didn't even scrape much off, but I added an Imperial Fist shield on his shoulder, and I gave him a new face, and I gave him an Imperial Fist pauldron. Belial, thank you. Not Azrael. And I gave him a chainsword. Though, honestly, I kind of wish I still had his power sword, because it was really cool, but I threw it away like an idiot. So, yeah, this is my my kit bashed Belial into an Imperial Fist chapter master. I kind of wanted to change this too, because I know that right there is a Dark Angels relic, but it is what it is. Okay, let's get back to painting Torgaradon very, very slowly, because I realized this is going a little slower than I expected, but I think it is because I'm taking a lot of time to try and make these blends look as smooth as possible. No, back. Go back this way. There we go. So I don't know if anyone saw, but at the beginning of the stream on this penny, I put some flow improver, because flow improver works so much better than water at like thinning down your paints, so you have some moisture without all the beading. And so that's kind of what I did there. We're also talking. Yeah, that is true. So yeah, that's one way that I've kind of gotten better at this blending thing, is using flow improver instead of water whenever I thin down certain paints, because the water just makes some of the paints bead way too much, and it's super noticeable. So using the flow improver instead helps create thinner layers, which allows for much better layering and blending. And yeah, we are chatting, and there has been some show and tell, so that's definitely affected my ability to paint him. And I mean, there's no deadline. This was purely a, hey, I want to change the lad up. So it's not a bad thing. I mean, that's what this stream is for, right? It's a Sunday morning hangout stream. Flow improver to improve your flow. I know, right? It's amazing. Like I think I've mentioned it before. I used to watch a lot of pro wrestling, and I still do, but I used to too. And I had a friend who was trying to get back into pro wrestling because he remembered loving it as a kid, but just never really understanding it. And now that he's an adult, he has a better idea, or he can better appreciate the performance aspect of it, right? And he was asking me about a wrestler named the Boogeyman, who was really big in the early 2000s. And the Boogeyman was this dude who looked like he came out of a horror movie, right? He had on red face paint, and he came out with a clock which he would smash against his head, and he had these big eyes that were like really terrifying to look at, and he would eat worms. And his whole gimmick was that he was the Boogeyman and he was coming to get you, and that was in his opening theme. And my buddy was asking me, like, so what's the whole deal about the Boogeyman? I've seen him, but I don't know much about him. And I just went, well, he's the Boogeyman. He's coming to get you. And he almost crashed the car because he started laughing so hard. But yeah, it's pretty funny that some of the things that end up getting said, because we're in like a trance or a flow state. We're not really thinking about what we're talking about. But yeah, Flow Improver is a lot better than water at improving the flow of your paint. Who would have thunk it? So I thinned it down really hard just now because I realized I've got like a bad area right there that needs to probably be hit a little better. But I kind of don't want to pull the orange paint back out since it's almost time for me to go. So I'm just using some of the yellow paint, very thin down, to see if I can kind of smear this border a bit. Oh my goodness. Phone just startled the heck out of me. I've got, I don't know if the phone shook because it definitely vibrated. I'm gonna need some orange paint. But, my phone's reaction, or my phone's text alert is, no, that's okay. You can go away. I don't advertise. Oh wait, there we go. I completely forgot what I was talking about. That's okay. Yeah, I am going to need some orange though, because that contrast between the dark orange to the bright yellow is too much. Oh yeah, my phone just gave a text alert. And I don't know how many of you have seen Lilo and Stitch, but there's a scene near the end of the movie where Jumba, the scientist that created Stitch, yells, "What?" really loudly. And someone online took that bit, and they made it so instead of yelling "what," he yells "whoa" really slowly. And I thought it was incredibly funny, so it's now my text alert. And so now whenever I get a text, it just screams "whoa" at me in a really slow, silly manner. And normally it makes me laugh because it always happens at the weirdest moments too. Like someone's trying to tell me something that's fairly innocuous and boring, and then you'll just hear a "whoa!" And then everyone gets a laugh out of it because no one expects the ultra surprised phone to scream at them in surprise. So yeah, it's always good for a laugh. Okay, let's go ahead and actually use some of this to transition a little better in some of these angles, because there's some very dark things happening. Yeah, exactly. Matter of fact, let me see if I can find... It's probably on YouTube. I can probably find this on YouTube. Nah. It was like on TikTok or something, so I don't know. Whatever. Either way, it made me laugh. Yeah, that actually did a pretty good job of cleaning that up. And now, I'm going to kind of take this. And this is the part of painting where I'm still learning the patience, is doing the cross blending, going back and forth over a border until it's like ultra smooth with the right thinned paints. Because I just don't have the patience to do that. And it's something you kind of develop as you start noticing more and more imperfections. Because like 6 months ago, I would never have bothered. I would have looked at what I did and went, yep, that's smooth enough, and moved on. But as you kind of do this and get better at it, you start noticing more and more imperfections. And whether or not you want to change them is totally up to you, because it's your paint job. But in my case, I'm a stickler for that stuff. And so I tend to notice when something's not quite painted right on my end, because I realize it's unintentional, and then I go, well, now I've got to fix it. And that's kind of funny because I'm the exact opposite with other people's paint jobs. I just love seeing what other people come up with, because every one of these is really a blank canvas. And so seeing how other people approach it is just super cool to me. Because, you know, even though YouTube is a great repository for finding inspiration, there's definitely a certain method that a lot of people use to make these models look a certain way. And so seeing other people not use that method and do their own thing and find their own ways to make these models look cool, that's what gets me. Because there is no counsel of how to do this right. And even though Golden Demon is supposed to be a metric of, you know, paint skill, that's purely one company's idea of what a good paint job looks like, right? I notice my mistakes the most when I take pictures of them and you see them on a larger screen. Exactly. That's easily the most frustrating thing, because then they stand out and they're amplified. And that's happened to me a lot. Like, the picture I took for Horace, I didn't realize that I forgot to paint his teeth. And so the picture in the Discord, I actually went back and corrected that, but his teeth are, his entire mouth is just glowing red. Art is art, it's all up to interpretation, and that is subjective. That is very true, and very much the case. But yeah, I didn't realize I forgot to paint Horace's teeth after airbrushing him again. Because I airbrushed around his head to make the glow from his, behind his head a little more prominent. And, so he just had this weird looking red gummy mouth. You forgot to add some teal for the verdigris on the bronze. Yeah, exactly, right? So then you go back and you're like, damn it, I just took really nice pictures of these. I don't want to do that again. But then you go back and you do it, and then you're happy with it. And I will be honest, I'm still trying to figure out how the hell I took such good pictures of Abaddon, because I was trying to do the same with Horus and I just couldn't land it. So I'm probably going to try and chase that dragon for a little while longer as I try and make that Horus model look better, because I really like the paint job I did on him, and I'm probably going to go back and continue to improve his paint job as well, but I really want it to show off nicely on the camera. And I think eventually what I'm going to do is, I've got like an aquarium, not an aquarium, a display case that I think was meant for a football, like an American football. You'll add them later after you get the model back from the painting competition. That's fair. But yeah, I got this this case that I think is meant for a football, and originally, many years ago, I wanted to do an ancient Rylanor diorama. And so I 3D printed this this not Fulgrim proxy. And I bought the Rylanor model, or the Emperor's Children Dreadnought from Forge World. And I painted them up, and I 3D printed two, heck are they called? 2000 Suns. And I was going to make a virus bomb out of some hemophilia treatment capsules that, empty ones, that were given to me by a friend. And it just never really got off the ground. Like, I got most of that stuff painted, but I just never really finished it. And so, yeah, a Fulgrim. Very nice. A good pun, I like that one. That's what we should start calling Clone Grim, is Fulgrim, because that's a good. But, that never really got off the ground. Everything's just kind of sitting in that trophy case, looking a little awkward. So what I might do is I might take my Reboot Gilliman and my Abaddon and make a little diorama of those two facing off, because they are meant to be symmetrical. So it would be a cool little display piece that I would actually be able to display. So I think that's what's going to happen with those guys. And also, I love the fact that there is a Fulgrim in lore, that a perfectly cloned Fulgrim exists, or a very close to perfectly cloned. But I want people to stop talking about him. I want him to stop being talked about as, oh, is he going to come back and lead the Loyalist Emperor's Children? Like, no, stop, please. He was meant to be a plot contrivance for Fabius Bile and nothing else. And I know they never permanently got rid of him, but
I don't like the idea of the Emperor's children being redeemed in any way. They're awful because they're awful, and they deserve to be awful. Let them stay awful. Of course, this is purely just my opinion. You need to finish your scratch-built Thunderhawk. Oh god, yeah. That's a really cool project that you were working on that I forgot about, actually. And so, yeah, seeing that thing done would be super cool. But yeah, I really like the Fulgrim model that I found. They did a good job representing his demonic side. But, like I said, I kind of fell out of love with the project because I realized there were some spots that I wasn't comfortable working on because I didn't have the confidence to do so. So who knows? Maybe I'll get back to it eventually, and maybe I'll use another display case. But right now, I want to use that one for Gilliman and Abaddon because they're not doing anything in on a shelf downstairs. You know? Oops, the camera. Did the camera die? No. You need to make the engines. Yeah, that doesn't sound like fun. Okay, I think that took actually that didn't take very long. It took about an hour. He has now been base painted in Averland Sunset, so I have finally reached his mid-tone. The next step for him I've had on the palette this entire time, which is the ice yellow, but I haven't gotten to it yet. So I think the next step for him, which might be on Monday, I don't know. Why are you doing this? Is going ahead and highlighting him with the ice yellow and potentially touching up some small spots with white. I do know I want to repaint the casing on his grav gun, but I think that's as far as I can. Oh, by the way, there's a dead Alpha Legion because one of my friends plays Alpha Legion, so I had to kind of drive it home a little bit. But hopefully I'll be able to get that done potentially Monday, and then I can get back to work on the rats. You're having a fever, so sadly I'll just leave you on lurk while I rest. Enjoy your paint session. Thank you for coming on, Kellyanne. Please take care of yourself. I'm actually about to sign off because I got to go to work and get ready for work. But yeah, before I go, I think I showed this last time, but this guy came in, and I can't wait to paint him because he's so much fun and he's so silly. Yeah, T is great for that kind of stuff. He's just a great panacea in general. Yeah, someone was selling him online for like $8, and I love the Imperium's Ministorum because of just how horrifically corrupt they are, and so seeing this corpulent priest just made me really happy, and so I'm gonna paint him up. I just wanted to have him. I don't think I'm gonna use him for anything unless I play like a 40k tabletop RPG, but I just love that model. I love the world of 40k so much because of how silly it is. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to see... Oh no, there is no one streaming right now except for Pirate Software. Holy mackerel. There's so few people online. Is there anyone streaming in miniatures and... Let's see. Oh, we've got quite a few people streaming in miniatures. Very cool. We're gonna he could go with the Sisters of Battle. He could. I could put him with the Sisters of Battle. I am eventually going to make Space Pirate Fenrir stream. Very cool. I don't think I'm following him. But yeah, let's go ahead and do that. Space Pirate Fenrir. Oh, they're playing Metroid Dread. That's really cool. My buddy, the one who got me into 40k, is big into Metroid, and he said that game's absolutely fantastic. It looked really good. Good gravy. So I'm gonna go ahead and do that. But yeah, I'm eventually going to make an Imperial Guard army because I keep seeing art and stories that make me want to make a Guard army and play that for a bit. So that's another project that I'm kind of delving into at some point. I'm actually, I don't know, I'm debating whether I want to use one-page rules as new Human Defense Force, which look like a weird combination of Helldivers and the Imperial Guard, or if I want to do Station Forge's Krieg proxies. I don't know, I'll figure it out. But either way, let's go ahead and raid Space Pirate Fenrir. They are playing Metroid Dread. Solar Auxilia. That's another cool idea. No, not excellent. Raids. I mean, you could also just do any and all and make it a mixed unit. Who knows? But by the way, thank you guys for being here. I really appreciate it. I should stream again on Monday because I have the day off, so I'm looking forward to that. So have a great rest of your day, guys, and I'll see you later. Bye-bye.